All right. Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you? Good to see
Doing
you.
fantastic. Everybody, this is Coach Bronson. We're doing another interview. Today, we're going to talk really a lot about something we don't talk a lot about, more in the periphery of what we do because it's how I eat and it's what I do. But we're going to talk a lot about carnivore today because we have Linda, the carnitarian, on, and she is unapologetically a meat eater,
Absolutely.
right? Go into that
Yeah.
a little bit. So
Well,
what's your, like, why so, like, you are so all about meat?
yeah, I'm all about meat. Because here's the thing. We're humans, you and I both. We are meant to eat meat. And I see all of these people all the time, like apologizing for eating meat, feeling bad that they feel like they want to eat meat,
Yeah,
feeling like that they're doing the wrong thing. And if they were just a little bit, they had a little bit more self-control, they would be a better person and they could go vegetarian or go vegan or whatever it is. But we are
yeah,
humans. We evolved by eating meat. We are meant to eat meat. We thrive on meat. And, I just think it's kind of important to show that women eat meat. We can eat a lot of meat and we can be pretty healthy doing that. We don't have to eat salad. We don't have to be laughing with salad. So yeah, I mean, my Instagram account is all about meat and cooking, and there's some animal agriculture stuff in there, and some nutrition stuff in there. But that's my jam over there on Instagram.
I love it. I love it. So how long have you been a carnivore? Been following the carnivore diet? I'm actually trying to get away here. So here's something that I'm trying to do myself. I'm trying to get away from labeling that and saying,
Yeah.
how long have you been carnivore? How long have you been keto? And more talk about that as a style of eating as opposed to defining a person by it.
Right.
Because I
Which
feel
is
like we get
ironic.
into that trap, right? Because I don't want that to be, I don't feel like it's a label for me, and I don't want to label other people because it's more about, because it's going to change, right? How I've approached carnivore has changed over the past few years. I'm sure how you've approached it has changed, but it's more of a concept and a methodology than it is a dogmatic label about how you're supposed to or what you do. So I'm trying to work on not saying like, how long have you been carnivore? Because you're not carnivore. You are a person who's chosen to eat a carnivore lifestyle.
Exactly. I mean, I'm more than just that. And
Right.
and the reason I say it's ironic is because I named myself the Carnitarian. So I mean, it really is sort of like the basis of my Instagram handle
Mhm.
is that I am a carnivore. But I mean, we are people and we're multifaceted, and I have other things going on. I have a family and children, and I have other interests other than meat.
Right.
So sure. And yes, the way that I was introduced to carnivore, just to give you the timeline, was
Yeah.
about over 6 years ago. I found the group on Facebook, which is very popular, Zeroing In on Health, which is where the longest term carnivores have been. And they sort of help people understand that it is safe to only eat meat, that it is healthy to only eat meat. And they are pretty strict in their guidelines for how we should do that, right?
Yeah.
Whether or
Yep.
not we should experiment, whether or not we should care about macros, whether or not we need to exercise, all of that. You can go
Right.
to that group and find out what their ideologies are. But I started to explore other groups, and I sort of did carnivore kind of like not my own way, but just the way that worked for me. And I found throughout these 6 years that sticking to pretty strict carnivore rather than just like meat based with low carb vegetables or
Mhm.
meat based with low carbohydrate fruits like avocado and olives and things like that, it it was more beneficial to me to stay more strict carnivore. I have always included cheese. I have always included spices.
I love cheese so
um,
much.
and then on holidays, because traditional Italian holiday requires tomato sauce. I make my own sauce. I don't add any sugar. So I'm sort of carnivore plus tomato at times. It works for me. I
Yeah.
mean, to do the rule of that's not carnivore is crazy. When people start screaming, that's not carnivore, I start to sort of, I get a little crazy because you can use that term carnivore, and it makes it very clear if you want to have that strict elimination diet, which is so helpful for so many people, and I
Yep.
recommend it at the start, and say, you're going to only eat from the animal kingdom. That's not going to include honey. Okay. And it's not
It's
going
funny.
to,
I have that on my list of topics. It's
okay,
funny
let's talk
that you
about,
say that.
yeah. We're only
Tell
going to
me
eat
how
from
you really feel.
yeah. um, and you can say that and it's great for people, but some people don't need to be that strict. So there is an absolute use for the term carnivore. And I think that the definition should stay what it is, animal-based, no plants.
Yep.
But then you can be a carnivore and add some things in. Nobody's giving out cards or revoking carnivore cards, you know?
Exactly. Absolutely. I like to say that there's no panel that's going to vote you out, right? Of the
Right.
carnivore club.
It's no tribunal.
Yeah, there's no tribunal. You're not voted off the carnivore island, right?
Right.
Give us your skull or whatever that thing is, right? I forget how that works.
Oh my gosh.
So when you talk about the strict carnivore, that brings connotations of restriction and um, limiting what you're eating. And many people, when you use those terms, restrictive or strict, immediately the first thing they start thinking about is all the things you're going to miss out on.
Oh, for sure.
How do you approach that, and particularly with clients or even with yourself? Like, what was your process of saying, hey, wait, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to cut all these things out? Do you feel after 6 years that you have a restricted diet?
Well, that's the thing is I don't feel like I have a restrictive diet. Absolutely not. I have an amazing proper human diet, like Ken Berry says. There's so much variety in the animal kingdom. And
Mhm.
these are the foods I feel like we're meant to eat. I am never at a loss for finding some cut that I have not yet tried. I mean, there are things out there that I still haven't tried, and it's been 6 years.
Like
I'm not out of
cross-cut
food.
pork belly.
Oh yeah, pork belly was today.
I saw your thing today. I was like,
Yes.
cross-cut pork belly. So I'll be honest, I've never had pork belly.
Oh, you're missing. I mean, you've
I've
had
never had
bacon.
pork.
I know
I
you've
mean, I've
had
had
bacon.
bacon, but I see
Okay.
people cut it where it's all thickened, and it
Yeah.
always kind of like, yeah, I don't know if I would like that or not.
Well, you got to try it to know,
Yeah,
Bronson. Try it. It's fatty. I mean, be
yeah.
prepared. If you don't do well with lots of fat, start
Mhm.
slow. If you have any trouble digesting fats, heavy fats, start slow
Okay,
because
okay.
it can be problematic.
It's a
But
lot, right? Yeah,
it's a lot of fat. It's a lot of fat. It is not lean. It is not lean-ish. It is not approaching anything towards lean. It is the fattiest of cuts from the cow. So but it's delicious. I
yeah,
mean, we're not just talking about beef. People are always like, "Well, I just can't eat steak every day." What else do you eat? Like, where's the stuff? And
right.
so, okay, so let's talk about the things, right? You can eat the cow, so that's beef, and then there's lamb, and then there's goat, and then there is all of the seafood, right? So, like the freshwater fish, the saltwater fish, the shellfish. There's just so much, and there are other animals. There's game animals like deer, and you know, there's bison and all sorts of animals that we are meant to eat.
Yeah.
And they just that variety is enough for me. When I eat the foods that people think are like the fun foods that they need, bread being the staff of life, right? And I can't live without my pasta, stuff like that. When I eat those things, I feel
Like crap,
terrible.
right?
I feel
Absolutely.
just absolutely terrible. And then I realize and I tell people that these foods, they're like pasta, for example. This is like a seed and they mush it up and then they extrude it and then they dry it and then we boil it and we call it pasta. But this is like a seed paste. This is wheat that's ground up and mushed back together. Like this is for
Right.
birds. This is not people
There's
food.
nothing natural about it, right?
No, it's just, I mean, maybe it's delicious, but it makes me feel terrible and it's just not real people food for me. And so I
Yeah,
try to explain that to clients when I talk to them that, you know, this diet's not restrictive. It is like you say, it's like freedom is your choice. Like I choose to eat this way so I can feel great. And I feel very free to choose
yeah,
any of the cuts in
right.
that butcher section, in that entire meat case, and in the whole seafood case. That's all for me. That's my candy store.
And
I,
and there's so many different ways to cook it and prepare it. It's not even just the variety of the meats and animal animals that are out there, but how we prepare it is there's so many different ways.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference when you cook it.
Yeah, yeah. And so for me, I think there came a point where I realized that one of those things that you said, when you eat something, you feel like crap. There came a point where I realized that it, even after being carnivore, even before carnivore, being low carb, being, whole foods based, etc., when I would eat certain things, I would still feel bad. And even I think started then, like realizing how important nutrition is and cutting things out isn't, it's hard to explain how just because you're eating a lot of things now and you stop eating those things doesn't mean you're restricting yourself. What you're really doing is you're actually going back to a normal diet, a
Yeah.
normal human diet. All of these things that you're eating are not natural, are not normal. They are outside of the bounds
Right.
of what a normal whole food human diet is. So you're not restricting yourself, you're returning to your roots. This is what you were
Absolutely.
meant to eat. So everything else is extra. So when you cut out extra, that doesn't mean you're restricting,
I agree. It's
right?
not. You're
And
just
that
getting it
thought
right.
process is so hard for people to get until they do it for a while, and then they realize, hey, I feel like crap when I eat this stuff. I'm starting to get it. And it has to, unfortunately, it takes people several times of feeling like crap before they start realizing, hey, wait a second, maybe this stuff isn't good for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to enjoy the results of eating the things that my body's meant to take in, that my body is designed and doesn't have to do extra work to break down and process and cause toxins and all these other types of things,
Mm-hmm.
side effects of eating, inflammation particularly, um, before they realize that you're not restricting yourself. You're actually enabling. It's like someone, I don't know where I heard this years ago. Um, you can go anywhere you want to go as long as you stay on the road.
I see. Yeah. I
Right?
mean, get your
It,
framework right and then stick
right.
within it.
Right. It's a framework. You can go to point A to point B and you can go wherever you want to go. But if you're particularly in a regular car, let's not break down this metaphor too much, but
Right.
if you're in a car and you want to go from point A to point B, the easiest way to do it is to go on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the equivalent of this is the carnivore diet. You can go off the road if you want to. It's going to be a lot more work.
Yeah.
You're not going to know where you are. You're going to hit the road. You're going to be off the road. You're going to be on a path. You're going to be in a field. You're going to
Yep.
be going down, like all of these things are going to
And you're
happen.
going to
And
end up in
that's
the repair shop and at the car
right.
wash.
Yeah. And that's what's happening to our bodies when we're following the standard American diet or who knows whatever else we're doing. Right. It's
Mm-hmm.
what it is. Stay on the road,
Well,
people.
that's right. I mean, just eat the things that make you feel good and you can, find your health that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
So you started your Instagram how long ago?
Oh, I think it was like 2.5 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been about that long.
Okay. And how long you've been, and you do one-on-one coaching, group, like
I
what's your
do
coaching
one-on-one,
programs?
I do one-on-one coaching, and there's a link in my bio if people want to contact me. And we can set up, like, I can do like a weekly thing with people, or I could do a
Mhm.
one-time thing with people, whatever people need.
Yeah.
Some people need more coaching and some people don't need coaching at all. I offer a lot of support just through direct message on Instagram. And I love what, like the other day, I just put up a post like, if you need somebody to virtually slap the sugar out of your hand, I'm there. I love it. I will tell you why you don't want
Right.
to eat that.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm
it's interesting that you say that because I want to talk about a trend that I'm sure you've noticed over the past several months, and that is carnivore influencers starting to promote, and I don't even want to say admit or be open about the fact that they do sometimes eat things that have sugar. I'm talking about influencers who are actually promoting sugar as healthy right
Mhm.
now, and what your thoughts are and what your take is on that.
I mean, listen, everybody has a tolerance and everybody has a history.
Yep.
So, what people can tolerate is different. And when young, healthy people who have never had any stitch of metabolic disorder start extolling the benefits of sugar, we have to understand that they are coming from a different place. That is not where the majority of the United States population is. The
80%
people,
now, right?
right,
Almost 80%. Yeah.
80% have metabolic syndrome or a disorder or some kind of a metabolic issue where sugar is absolutely not what is going to help them or fix them.
Yep.
And so it's difficult because sometimes people really believe that it is the sugar that is keeping them healthy or contributing to their additional health or their ability to power through at the gym, things like that. But when you are young and healthy, you can get away with a lot of sugar before you start feeling the effects of that.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to say, let's see these people in 30 years and see if they're still having that much sugar,
Yeah.
see how they're doing.
Yeah, there's so many questions that I have about that, right? Is how much are they really having? How often are they having it? Are they having it enough to be able to take a picture and post it on Instagram? Or is it something they're actually putting into their routine every day? Right?
Yeah,
There's
who
so many
knows?
questions about that. And it bothers me a little bit to see the representation of sugar is okay. Because like you said, 80% of the people, it's not.
Right.
Right? It's not. The healthier you are, the more leeway you have in doing things that may or may not be healthy because you're closer to your goal. You're closer to where you can. Like for me, I'll just use me in fitness for instance. I'm about as functionally fit as I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
My goal, none of my goals for fitness have anything to do with functional fitness. There's nothing that I can't do at my age in my lifestyle, the things that I
Awesome.
want to do, right? There's nothing that I can't do.
So awesome.
So that means I have leeway. If I decide that I want to take a month off and not do any exercise, I could probably get away with doing that.
Yeah.
Now, mentally, that would not be good for me because it would get me out of a routine and getting back into it would suck, but it wouldn't affect my health.
Right. I mean, it's an incremental decrease that you're
Right.
not going to feel it. Right. And
Right.
you're just
Because
not going to feel it right away.
Right, because I'm there already. Now, for somebody who is not in shape, who is not at a level of functional fitness that gives them a quality of life that they're looking for, if they take a month off, they're actually moving backwards.
For sure.
Right. So this is, and it's the same with sugar and high carb things and stuff like that. Like you're
Absolutely.
not there yet. You don't want to take that side road and start messing around with some of this stuff. Just
Yeah. It's a
stay
good
with the
point.
basics.
Right. I mean, so much of what carnivore helps us with is lowering our insulin level is there's such a benefit to that, lowering your insulin. And if you just, if you're piling in some sugar, you're piling in, or even just micro dosing all day long with little bits of sugar, like a little honey at breakfast, a little sugar at lunch, a fruit with your snack and a fruit with your dinner, you're like microdosing sugar all day long. You're not going to get the benefit of reducing your insulin or increasing your insulin sensitivity. And that's what so many people need. So the carnivore diet helps with that. Adding in sugar is just, like you said, it's going off the road. Like it's just not for what we're talking about here.
Right. Okay. I like what you said about the carnivore diet, and I want to talk about building muscle, right? Getting more protein. You are on a protein kick right now.
Yeah. I feel like
And
this is going to stick around for a while.
what kind of got you? So what were you doing before you got on the protein kick? What made you go, hey, wait, maybe I need more protein? And like, what is that all about?
Okay. So what was I doing before was basically just eating all the meats. Like it didn't matter to me, the fat content of the meat, like the pork belly, like I said, was very frequent. Ribeyes were basically my macros. It's, 70-30 fat to protein by calorie, right? So I was basically eating a high fat carnivore diet. It served me very well for a very long time. People can get very healthy on a high fat carnivore diet, and I would never poo poo it.
Yep.
But I realized after listening to some protein experts, like Ted Naiman, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon,
Yep.
Vanessa Spina had some great scientists on her Fast Keto podcast. Just listening to all of those people talk about our like hunger for protein and how what we're really searching for in all of these diet ideologies, whether it be carnivore or vegan or paleo, is we've got to hit our sort of hunger for protein. And if we can do that and minimize the energy intake, whether that be from carbohydrate, which like it would be in a vegan diet, or from fat, like which it would be in a carnivore diet, we can improve our body composition. We are more likely to be able to gain muscle mass, lean tissue, and to reduce our body fat.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I'm in, and in previous years, I had always thought to myself, eating fat doesn't make you fat. So why would cutting fat help you lose fat? And so I had this very, it's sort of like a simplified view of, well, that's not how this works. And I'm not going to buy into this. But I said to myself, after 6 years, I'm all healed and I still have very stubborn fat. My body fat percentage, according to a DEXA I had done a year ago, was 36%. And I was like, not happy with that.
Yeah.
So I said, let's work on this. Let's see. Ted Naiman said that if I could get my protein up to 60%, that I'm going to look like a fitness model. Let's try. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's give it a go. So I did for 10 weeks. I switched my macros. I like to just pick leaner cuts of meat, and I averaged about 50% of my calories from protein.
Okay.
I started off in that Ted Naiman 60% range. Now he doesn't promote 60%. He says minimum 40%. That's where you want to be.
Sure.
But I heard that 60 in that fitness model and I was like, oh, I'm going to try it. But I wasn't happy.
It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time.
No, it doesn't happen overnight. And I wasn't happy with so little fat. So 60% was a little too much for me. It was a little bit uncomfortable to reach that amount of protein. So I ended up just taking it down after a month. So I did 6 weeks at about 50% protein on average.
Okay.
And I got great improvement. I went back for a DEXA and I cut that down to 30% body fat. So I was really happy with that. And I feel like if I can just keep continuing on this trajectory, I'm, you're helping me with my phase 2, which is adding in resistance training, which is something I hadn't done in those first 10 weeks. So I'm taking this sort of stepwise approach, first changing the cuts of meat that I eat, being more cognizant to say, is the protein to energy ratio of this meat about where I want to be? And looking at cuts that I hadn't necessarily considered before, and I'm eating a lot of those.
Are you looking at your protein, at your ratio as a calorie thing, or are you doing it by grams?
Calorie, definitely calorie. So,
have you thought about doing it by grams?
I like to hit a target for, I guess they're sort of one and the same in the end, but I like to make sure that I get at least 180 grams of protein. And sometimes I'm way above that.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay. Then you're good. Yeah. Okay.
I am aware of the grams. But when I look at that breakdown, because my calories vary, some days I work out and I dance and I'm very hungry. And some days I'm just not hungry.
Yeah.
So for me to hit like a gram target on fat and on protein, that sort of limits my calories in a way. And so I like to do it by like proportion. And so then I can have 2,000 calorie days, or I can have 1,200 calorie days and still be in that right proportion of fat to protein.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think it's cool. I love how everybody approaches things differently. Like you talk about how you do it. If you ever talk to Rob Sykes, the way he does, he's way high fat with stuff. He does things a whole different way. But he also is a bodybuilder, and he can get super lean and a high fat diet. It's super crazy.
It's amazing. He's great. I love him.
Yeah. So the way that I look at it, I focus on the grams, and I try to get people away from calories from a more of a mindset thing, because I don't want calorie counters.
I am a fan of not counting calories.
I don't want people to be focused on, oh, my calories, blah, 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 because I want people to understand that it's not about the calories. So getting that mindset shift. So I try to target, I basically give people a protein goal. And then as long as they hit that goal every day, I could care less about everything else.
I think that's great.
Right?
Yeah,
Just try to get this much protein in. If your fat is a little higher, your fat is a little lower, whatever, but try to get that in and you're good. That's a good way to start. That's kind of how
I think it's great. I mean, that the protein goal is the thing. We are as a country just way under on our
way under.
consumption of protein. And, the powers that be keep wanting us to push that even lower. And
Right.
it's frighteningly so.
I loved Dr. Lyon's post yesterday or a couple of days ago where she showed the history of how much meat we're eating.
I
And
didn't see.
it's gone. This is the thing that blows my mind. People, again, critical thinking, looking at information, meat consumption is down, but apparently meat is killing everybody. That's
Oh,
why
yes.
all the other stuff is up.
Yes,
Right? How does that
absolutely.
make sense, guys? Like,
Right.
come on. Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we have taken the nutritional advice that the government has given us. We have reduced our red meat intake and we have increased our whole grain intake, and we are nothing but fatter and unhealthier for it.
Absolutely. And there's more information coming out about studies that were done in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s about how they cherry-picked data or completely omitted data because it didn't serve what they were trying to say and all kinds of things. And we're finding out now that all the data that we were told back then, 30, 40 years ago, it was completely falsified. Like it's just
Absolutely.
absolutely not the way things are.
And it continues on today. Like when they reevaluate the dietary guidelines for Americans, they still do cherry pick the studies that they want to take into consideration when they issue those guidelines. So it's still going on today. And, there are lots of lobbies involved
Oh yeah,
in
so big
what
money.
those guidelines look like.
Absolutely. Big, big, big money. Okay. All right. So tell us about what phase 2 means.
So phase 2 is you. You are helping me. Yeah, you're my phase 2. So basically, after 10 weeks, I said, all right, if I am going to put this protein, basically put it to work, right? I need to incorporate resistance training. You've got to do that, and tell me if I'm explaining this wrong, but
Yeah.
you've got to break down the muscle to build the muscle. And so you've got to use that muscle in order to make it grow. And that's a shift that I am hoping for. When I get my next DEXA, I want to see more red, more muscle. And I'm less concerned now with the amount of fat that I have. I am more concerned with the amount of muscle that I have.
I wish more people would think that way. I wish that more people would think about, we talked about it when we did our live, right? We talked about how it's a ratio of two things, fat and lean mass. And you don't have to, you can change the ratio either direction. So if you want to lose body fat percentage, it's not just about losing fat. If you build muscle, your body fat percentage will go down. So, and then you'll also lose muscle or lose fat at the same time because now you're burning more fat. So it's a double whammy.
It's like a win-win.
It's a win-win. It's crazy. So yes, focus on lean mass, people. Lean mass.
So I'm signed up for your beginner functional fitness program.
And how's it going?
It's going really well. Let me tell you what. That first workout I did. Now, listen, I'm a dancer. I compete. I consider myself to be in very good shape. I am horrible at burpees. And I was like, I was really having a hard time with the burpees. And I was also very unstable in these like walking lunges that you had me doing. And I was all over the place, just falling from side to side. The second workout was easier. And the third workout was like, I'm feeling good. So I'm getting better. I'm going to stick with it. And I feel like I am gaining incrementally. And I know it's a slow process, but I feel like I am gaining strength. I went today for a ballroom session. And there's one particular dance. It's called a bolero. And you have to basically laterally like squat to the side and just move in this like sumo position to the side with power and hold it before you rise up. And it's hard to do if you don't have like leg strength and
Yeah,
hip
yeah, yeah.
stability. And so I was feeling really good doing that today.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So
Thanks.
you're gonna, I think you'll notice like there's so much more. It's feeling strong, it's feeling confident, it's feeling better about moving your body. So as you get more comfortable doing the movements, you're gonna feel like, okay, I've got this. Like this is cool. I can do these things, you know.
Yeah.
So you got your first week down.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to do the same workouts next week, and then you're going to blast them out of the water. You do way better for next
I'm
week.
going to. I'm going to feel really confident. I am feeling confident that it's going to be even easier next week. And then I may ask you to switch to your beginner / intermediate program, but I'm going to get through this beginner program first.
Yeah. No, do it as long as you need to. I think it's fantastic. How do you like the app?
I really like the app. I find it is sort of like, it's very motivational that there are other people there. Like you said, there's other people noticing if you check in or not.
Yeah.
And you don't have to check in, and nobody's going to yell at you or like, track you down if you don't check in. But I feel the weight of that. Like, I feel like if I don't do this tonight, Bronson's going to message me and be like, why didn't you mark the workout complete?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah. So it's very motivational. I mean,
I do run reports and see how often or when the last login for people was, and you may get an email if it's over more than a few days.
that's awesome. I feel like having that support is so helpful in any endeavor, anything that's not
Yeah.
a habit for you, any kind of change. Having somebody there to be accountable to
Mhm.
is so important. So I love this. I appreciate this so much.
Yeah. Do you have a community or anything like that on Facebook or
I
anything for
don't,
your coaching or anything like that?
I don't know. It's just me. And basically people can just find me through Instagram.
So a lot of your back and forth with people and everybody that happens on the Instagram. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. What is the one thing that you want to tell people about carnivore before we drop off?
Oh, it's just the message of that carnivore is good for you. Carnivore is good for the planet. You are not hurting yourself or hurting the planet by choosing to eat meat. It is the proper human diet, and it can be so healing. I would suggest that people give it a try, a solid try. People say 30 days, but I think you need a little more than that to really start feeling some great effects. You may find some, small benefits in those 30 days, but people will find like tremendous benefits, and they are compounding over time. Like, I didn't get all of my benefits from the carnivore diet straight up front. They
Right.
just sort of came little at a time. So I guess the thing about carnivore really is like, we're not a bunch of crazy people. Like, we're not a bunch of weirdos who just love eating meat. There's really good science behind it. It's absolutely safe, and you may feel fantastic doing it. So just
Yeah.
try it.
You don't know how good you're going to feel until you do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I am so improved. I feel like I'm going to live to 110,
Yeah.
120, like just living this way.
Yeah.
Um, I just feel like it's something that now that there's so much information about it out there, people should take advantage of that information,
Mhm.
try it and see, because like you said, you don't know how good you can feel. You may think you're doing fine, but if you're judging yourself against like the general population, fine's not great. And we want people to feel great.
Yeah. Yeah. And also there's a lot of things that people dismiss because they just think that's how it is. And so they're not
Right.
thinking, they don't think, like for me, for a long time, I had IBS, I had stomach issues. And for me, I just thought it must be genetic. I don't know what I thought. This is just how I am. I
Yeah.
didn't think that there was anything I could do about it. It never occurred to my mind. It never occurred to me that what I was eating is what was causing the problem.
And the
And
shame of it
once,
is, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, and once I got rid of it, then it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know,
It's life changing.
yeah, it literally, and that's really what got me so passionate about this, is because it's like that one little thing, like being tied to not. So for me, it was emergency bathroom visits. Like I never knew, and I literally had to plan my life, plan every activity that I did around going to the bathroom, if there was a bathroom where we were going, or if there was one that we could get to on the way where we were going. Like it was
Yeah.
everything about my life. Um, and just simply not having to worry about when I went to the bathroom. Holy crap. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It's like
Like,
all
it's
that
like,
free
what in the
space now in
world?
your head, all that
Yeah,
free time that you have, all the
crazy.
worry, all the prep that you have to do to just leave
Yep.
the house. It's just gone.
Just out of the out.
Yeah. And
Crazy.
you know, the shame of it is that if people try to get themselves healthy and go to a typical, I'm going to stereotype doctor who's
Yeah.
not aware that food really does matter, they're going to get the advice of, oh, no, 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 it doesn't matter what you eat. You know, you just have some deficiency here. We'll give you a pill. It's a mechanical issue. We'll give you a pill. It's just that you're getting old. We'll give you a pill.
Right.
So it's a shame. Even when people want to change, they get some bad advice from
Yeah.
the professionals.
You mentioned something early on about regenerative agriculture, and then you said something again talking about carnivore is not harmful to the planet. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of talk about that the animal agriculture industry is what is causing climate change. And if
Right.
we could only all go vegan, um, climate change wouldn't be happening and we would save the planet, which is just absolutely false. It's just absolutely false. Raising cattle is like a net positive for the planet. It helps in ways that sequester carbon. It helps us to retain topsoil. It helps, it gives, like, having animals on the land gives
Is
this fertile
natural.
space. Yes, it's natural. It's like this is the way the world worked when the world worked well.
Right.
Now we're
Before we
kind of,
messed it up.
yeah. And, we're kind of in a situation now where we're looking for a scapegoat, and people who have an ethical issue with eating, or, the processing or the eating of animals, have sort of been very vocal about blaming it on animals. And what's happening now with climate change, and we worry about greenhouse gas emissions, this is just not coming from the animals. Unfortunately, these people are yelling the loudest. And so we hear about it quite a bit.
And it's the
Um,
one, and it's really, honestly, it's a vocal minority, right? It's just that
yes,
they're the megaphone that they're using is media, social media, and outlets that get to more people,
yeah,
right? Because they're also being backed by, and then this is the whole other issue. They're being backed by industries that have a lot to lose if we go to more agricultural,
yes.
things. So
And there are
yeah,
a lot of people putting in money who want to profit off of food that can be sort of like synthesized
yeah,
or
that's a good, that's one
grown.
word. That's one word for it.
Yeah. And so there's not a lot of inherent profit in cattle and beef, but there can be a ton of profit in processed foods. So when you have the ability to just produce any food you want in a factory anywhere, you're going to make a profit that the cattlemen aren't making. And so
Yeah,
there's so much involved with this push for reducing our beef consumption. But really, if you want to figure out, if you want to find out where the greenhouse gas emissions are coming from, you should look to transportation, and you should look to things like the construction industry.
yeah,
So it's really just like buildings and cars,
right.
airplanes, like that's where it's coming from. It's not the cows.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, just I saw some information today about things like it's crazy how the cognitive dissonance isn't just with with animals in agriculture. It's even within industry, right? Where you look at combustible vehicles versus electric vehicles. And when you look at the information about is actually how much greenhouse gases are actually being generated to make the
Right.
vehicles that are supposedly better than the combustible vehicles, but the cost and everything else is so much more. Like, it's just,
Right.
there's such a disparity in the information and the actuality of what's happening with them, right? And the fact that once those batteries are dead, what do you do with them? Now you can't get rid of them, so you got to stick them in the earth somewhere, right?
Yep.
So it's so much for Like I just,
Yeah, there's a
uh,
lot of number manipulating. I mean, you can sort of, like you said, cherry pick data to prove any point that you want.
right.
But at the end of the day, I mean, the number is, I think, 4% for all agriculture is what is, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. And animals are 2% of that, and beef is even like a section of that. So
Right.
it's it's not much, and that's just not where it is. That
Yeah.
this is not our issue.
Yeah. And if anybody's interested, I know, I think there's a few different farms that are pretty big in being vocal about what they're doing for regenerative agriculture. I know it was at White Oak Farms is one. And
Hmm.
then there's a couple, if anybody's interested in learning more about this, just Google regenerative agriculture and look for farms, like look for regenerative agriculture ranches. There's a ton of I know there's more and more of them coming up like over the years. I've heard of one, then I've heard of another, then there's like 5 or 6. Like
Right.
there's people that are doing it, and they're showing, and they're it's not that just they're doing it, but they're doing it, they're being successful with their business, but they're also gathering data and showing like, look, this is a net positive for the environment when we do it this way.
Right.
We're actually restoring the carbon footprint in these farms and pastures and everything else. When we got here 10 years ago, there was nothing could grow because there was nothing left, right? So they've been able to introduce a natural way of managing the environment and that um, biome in that ranch and fix it.
Right.
So it's possible. It's not the end of this
Absolutely.
problem.
And, I just want to make a note, because a lot of ranches don't sell direct to consumer the way that White Oak Pastures does.
Yeah.
And a lot of ranchers are doing things the right way. They are regenerative. So there's like 3 portions of how the animal gets to, say, a supermarket.
Mhm.
There's like the cow calf person, then there's the stalker backgrounder, and then there is the processor, who can sell direct, whoever owns the cattle can sell direct from the
Right.
processor, or it can go into like the consumer market, supermarket system.
Yep.
So what I want people to realize is that just because you're not buying from a regenerative farm, say you're buying from one of the big packers get their meats from small farms along the way. So there are a lot of amazing and incredible regenerative farms that
Yeah.
also, feed that beef into the supermarket system. So I feel as though people can find a farm that is local to them and purchase from their local rancher if that's accessible to them. But if you don't have a local rancher, like my closest local rancher is an hour away,
Mhm.
I feel very confident buying my meat in the supermarket because I know that the US ranchers behind that meat were doing things the right way, because the majority of them are amazing stewards of the land and they put so much thought and care into raising those animals. So I think if you're buying anything that says, born, raised, and harvested in the US, that's going to be excellent meat that has contributed to lower carbon emissions and methane emissions and things like that.
Okay,
It's
cool. That's
helpful.
awesome. That's good to know. Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Well, if you, where can people find you? And is it just the Carnitarian on Instagram? That's your main spot?
That's it. That's my main spot. I
Okay.
mean, I have a YouTube channel. People are welcome to subscribe, but I don't have any videos on that channel. So maybe one day.
Nice.
No, I'm
Well,
just on Instagram for now.
okay. Well, you have inspired me. I was thinking about it yesterday that I may start doing like a weekly live myself on Instagram.
I would love that.
We'll see how that goes. So I'm doing in the
I'll
group,
watch.
we're doing the weekly Discord chat. I'm going to start doing a weekly live in the Facebook group for members of the group only.
Oh, good.
Again, I was doing that. And now I'm thinking about maybe also doing something weekly on that. So I'll have 3 video things a week. Ugh, when my schedule can
Good
handle that. We'll
luck.
see how that goes.
Message
So
me and
that's an
let me know when
idea
they
in my
are.
head. I haven't committed to it yet.
You'll have to work that out. That's on you.
Yeah, it is. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being on. This has been fantastic. I'll get this up and share it out, and everyone get to see it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's always great
Thank
to
you
see you.
much.
Great to talk to you.
If I can figure out how to stop the recording.